Hi, this is John Gillespie, and welcome to the second part of the ACCA F5 questions and answers video on the question triple, which was set in the pilot paper for this particular subject. In the first part, we looked at creating this particular table for part B of the question to calculate the overheads absorbed on an activity-based costing basis. We had set out the activities 75, 115 and 480. I've completed the table in black, and also in relation to the overheads you can see here that the total overheads are 654,500, and these are the individual cost pools as we had calculated previously in the question. Now the task is to actually split the costs between the products, and that's what we've done there by applying the activity level to the cost driver per unit. And so in the first case, 75 multiplied by 341.9, i.e. this figure here, gets us to the cost for product D in relation to setups, and so on. So a number of calculations are required in this part of the question, and at that point we end up with the sum of the overheads that are split in total for each of the products, and the sum of this plus this is equal to, with any luck, if you've done it correctly, the actual overheads that you're trying to split. You'll notice that there's no difference to the overheads that we've done. Next thing we want to do is to calculate what the overhead per unit is, and the units produced here we get from the question as these figures here. So therefore the overheads per unit can be worked out simply 71,213 divided by 730, and that gives us the figure that we're looking for, which is 94.95, 79.07 and 69.21. So they're the overheads as calculated under activity-based costing. What we can do with those is bring them back to our cost card. So here's the cost card. Prime costs are the same, and so we just put them in at this particular point here. So that gives us the new costs, and you can see that the costs are quite different. Parts C and D of the question ask you to comment specifically in relation to some issues. And remember, you've only gained 15 out of the possible 25 marks at this stage. There are another 10 marks available for the last two parts of the question. Part C asks you to explain why the costs per unit calculated under ABC are often very different to the costs per unit under the more traditional methods. And so you need to comment on that. There are 4 marks available here, so there are a number of points that you need to make. 4 if you can, and try and make sure that you recognize that that's what it is. The first thing to say is that prime costs are the same for both methods. Second point is that overheads are allocated in a different manner. Or differently, or allocated in a different way for ABC versus AC. And a description as to how that would be done would be well placed. The next one would be to say that what is the result? So products D and C have reduced increased overheads, and product P have decreased overheads. Okay, so there would be some of the points that you would make. You need to talk about the fact that product P is high volume, and so attracts more overhead under traditional methods. And that's pretty much about it. Further discussion, obviously you've got about 1.5 minutes per mark, so you've got time here for around 5 to 6 minutes of a discussion. Part D of the question asks for a discussion in relation to the implications of a switch to ABC on pricing and profitability. So this is very important that we recognize about pricing. So you're asked to talk about pricing. So your discussion of pricing, specifically cost plus and the implications of the higher costs versus, or the different costs of the two methods, and how cost plus would be applied is important. And the other one would be a more of a market-based pricing approach. So that's the discussion for the first part, and there's half the marks going for that discussion. The next part would be in relation to profitability, and if we reduce the cost or the selling price, we may well reduce the contribution. So we're talking about contribution analysis here and the underlying levels of profitability. So profitability analysis is much enhanced by the use of ABC. So that's the type of discussion that we need to make. The implication is that the company may not necessarily be able to change prices, so may not be in a position to alter prices because of external market forces. I hope that this particular couple of videos have been useful to you and that it will help you in your future studies. Please let me know if you have found it useful, and I'll be happy to respond to any queries you may have. Thank you, and please tune in for further lessons that I will have on the site.